For millions of Indonesians, the Hajj is a lifelong pursuit requiring intense financial discipline. It means tucking away spare rupiah into envelopes, month after month, decade after decade, waiting for your name to be called from a massive national queue. But for those finally nearing the front of that line, the target just moved. In mid-2026, the Ministry of Hajj and Umrah proposed a 15% cost increase for the upcoming 2027 season. That hike pushes the total average cost per pilgrim to 107.3 million rupiah. The debate dominating Parliament right now centers on the specific mechanics of how the government expects to pay that bill. The ministry pitched a funding formula to cover the gap, triggering an immediate backlash from lawmakers who warn it relies on a financial stopgap that could drain the national reserves and lock future generations out of the pilgrimage. This chart shows how the ministry wants to divide up that 107.3 million rupiah cost. The individual pilgrim pays 40% out of pocket. The remaining 60% gets pulled directly from the National Hajj Fund, acting as a subsidy paid for by everyone still waiting. This exact ratio is why the plan is facing total rejection. Commission 8 of the Indonesian House of Representatives has refused to authorize the proposal. Their argument comes down to basic math. Forcing the national fund to absorb 60% of a cost this high creates an unsustainable annual deficit. This chart projects the impact on the reserves. The BPKH generates yields by investing the deposits of future pilgrims. Those returns cannot grow fast enough to cover a 60% subsidy gap year after year. Eventually, the reserves nosedive. By heavily insulating the people traveling next year, the government risks exhausting the funds meant to support everyone else. Using a 60% subsidy today effectively empties the system for the pilgrims of tomorrow. The fiscal crisis has now reached a religious impasse. This funding structure is facing scrutiny as a moral violation. The Indonesian Ulama Council, the MUI, issued a fatwa declaring this funding method haram. The religious reasoning follows the financial logic. The council ruled it forbidden to drain the shared wealth of millions of waiting pilgrims to subsidize the trips of those traveling today. If the subsidy is off the table, the focus shifts to the baseline cost. We have to ask why the price of the pilgrimage is rising by 15% in the first place. Lawmakers accuse the Indonesian ministry of passively accepting flat-rate price hikes handed down by Saudi authorities without requesting a detailed justification. The parliament now demands a hardline approach. They want the ministry to refuse blanket price increases and demand a strict itemized breakdown of every single service, every tent and meal. The domestic fight over subsidies is a symptom of weak international bargaining. A sustainable Hajj requires secured, transparent pricing from the host nation. Indonesia has the institutional weight to force that conversation. The Ministry of Hajj and Umrah was recently elevated as a standalone entity, giving it equal diplomatic footing with its Saudi counterpart. Combined with the fact that Indonesia sends the largest contingent of pilgrims in the world, the government has significant geopolitical leverage it has yet to use. That leverage means the ministry can stop relying on internal accounting to hide inflation. Lawmakers want officials to sit at the table and negotiate the baseline costs directly. Protecting this goal for the millions of citizens still waiting in line doesn't mean shifting the financial burden onto their backs. It requires the government to step onto the global stage and fight for a fairer price.